watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 124, Code Snippets. Don't mess with Scandinavian X-Pagers. They have beer. Okay, today's show is all about snippets, code snippets. I love code snippets. I'm a big fan of them because they're pieces of code that you do not have to write yourself. Someone else has done that for you. So what's not to like? I'm also a big fan of my brand new contributor, and his name is none other than Martin Rolph. Martin's on Twitter at Martin Rolph. He works for Oval Business Solutions. He's got a very good blog there as well. And I love the graphic that they have on their website for the X Pages superheroes, so I just had to throw that up there. So if you are looking for X Pages help, you feel free to give him a call, and he might be able to help you as well too. So, okay, so before we go into the snippets themselves, we have to talk about other types of snippets and where to get them. And one of the best places to get them, especially for X pages, is OpenNTF. OpenNTF has this XSnipppets application. I'm not exactly sure who all was involved in that. I know my good friend Sadar Bechamez, if I pronounce it right, and I'm sure I haven't. But Sadar is kind of like at least the main driving force behind that project right now, and he's got a project up there that OpenNTF is actually using to store all these these snippets. And OpenNTF has also been running these regular contests. I assume they're still going. I'm not sure when you're going to see this video, but like for the best voted or however they decided snippet, you get like a equivalent of like $100 or something like that for 3 or 4 winners or so. So it's a great deal. And we've got a lot of X snippets, and we're actually gonna look at that in a second. But actually, let's do that now. So we're gonna actually have 2 demos today. Let's go to the first demo. Okay, so here's just my web browser. I can never remember the URL to get to X snippets, so I just Google it. X snippets, and the first link is always just X snippets OpenNTF. And here you go. Here's the application, and this application is available for download. Now it's a little stale in OpenNTF. I believe Sadar is going to refresh that soon because basically I asked him because I want the new version myself. Because I run this my home or my day job server really for snippets that may be not or not quite shareable or just not too relevant. So you can certainly collect your own code, and that's always a good thing to do. So you've got a way to mark your favorites. You've got snippets by popularity, snippets by rating. Most recent snippets is just a good one to just keep your eye on. By the language, so there's a bunch of different languages in here. There's client server side JavaScript. There's Java itself, etc. So you can see some of those things. There's X snippets by author. And I come down here a lot, and yeah, I'm not sure why it's not sorting or so, but I'll put in an issue, and maybe if I have time, I'll volunteer to help fix that for him, because that's what open source is all about. But like Tony McGuckin, he's on the X Pages development team, so really there's no better source for a snippet than him probably. And I actually use his stuff a lot for some of the mobile things I've done, and he's got a little more advanced stuff. Who else is in here? Tommy's got some good snippets in here. I think for the messages control. I think Declan's contributed some stuff. So that's even a Lotus script snippet. So that's kind of scary. Andrew Gerard. I know Mark Lusink's in here. Phil Rand. I didn't know he had one. Um, Paul Calhoun. So a bunch of people. Where's Mark's stuff? He's got some good things in here. So Mark's contributed a lot of snippets, as has Jurk Kraus. I'm not going to highlight everybody, unfortunately, but how to convert a value to an array with this. This is server-side JavaScript, and I guess you can. I always just copy it manually, so but you can copy it to the clipboard, and there's notes on how to use it and usage examples on some of these and stuff like that. So do check out X Snippets. Here's a link to the contests. It has its own Twitter account, so you can follow that to find out when new X Snippets are available and stuff like that. But it's a great way to learn X pages too, because these are very digestible bytes of code. So please go over to OpenNTF and check it out. And once you do check it out, you're probably going to want to put them inside your designer to store them. Now, there is no automatic linking yet. Maybe that will happen someday in the future. But how do you use it inside Domino Designer? Well, that's what Martin is here to talk to us about. So let's go to demo number 2.
Okay, here's a quick tip to show one of my favorite features for Domino Designer in Eclipse, and that's code snippets. So something you may not have seen before unless you've read the help, because it's not something that's visible by default on the out-of-box installation. But to get the snippets area, what you need to do is go to Window, Show Eclipse, Views, Other. It's either going to be at the top here, or you can search for it, type in snip. Click OK. You get the snippets window jump down here, which I tend to move over to the left hand side. And this is a useful area to store common code, things that you're writing often in application, to save having to look up to other points of reference. So just as a few examples, say in the next page, you're in the source pane, and you want to put in a few spaces, but you can't remember what the XML representation for a space is. What we have here is just the one I've made earlier for a space. Just double click on it and I get the code here, or just some other SSJS or XPage bits, such as a script block, or something I've been doing recently with TR tags inside of a repeat. Or equally, if you're still doing things like load script agents, which still have to do quite often with supporting older applications, we've got a section here on looping through selected documents, which I don't know how many times I've written this code in my lifetime as a programmer. So yes, you can store all sorts of different types of snippets of code down here. These are just a few sections that I've been working recently, because when you recently discovered this area. But to do new ones, when you first show the snippets widget, it's going to be blank. You're not going to get any of this for free. So to set stuff up, all you need to do is right click on the area, select customize. First off, you get an option to create a new category. So you can say my favorite code. Now once you have a category, you can use the other drop down option to create a new item. I don't know, old favourite, DB lookup. And you put your code you want to save in the template pattern box, like so. And then from there you can build up a whole host of other libraries, such as things like an HTML email in SSJS, or some nice Java code that you have to write quite often, and so forth. So if I get rid of that, and then once you start using these, before you invest too much time setting these up, probably a sensible thing to do is to have a look at where all this information is stored, because you don't want to spend hours setting up all these options only to lose it if you have to reinstall Notes or move to another machine. So all these snippets are kept in a rather random location on your machine, in your installation directory for Notes, so program files, IBM Notes data directory by default, and then inside the workspace, metadata, plugins, and the all clips WST common snippets. So you can see that there. And inside that folder you get a user.xml file, and that's the one that's going to be holding all your snippet information as you enter it into Designer. So that's not a particularly memorable location, so one that's probably easily lost if you move to another machine, because I'm not going to remember to back that up. So a handy hint is to somehow save a copy of this to another shared location, such as a Dropbox folder. But you can't just move the file out, because I don't think there's any way you can tell Eclipse to look for the file in another location. So what you can do is use something called a file link. I don't know the correct terminology, but something you can do in Windows and probably also in Linux. But if you say, for example, go to a Dropbox folder on your machine or any other folder, it could be SkyDrive or etc. And from here, just a quick way to get into the command prompt, right click, go open the command prompt from here. So I'm now got a command prompt open inside one of my Dropbox folders. If I grab a command I made earlier, paste that in, what I'm doing is calling the make link command with this last H option, which I'm sure is very important, and telling it I want to create a link here for a user.xml file and point it at the existing file, which is that long directory name there. So if I run that command, it's going to tell me that it's created a hard link for this file, and this sort of few symbols here will suggest that it's actually the same thing, or it's mirrored somehow. So I go back into my Dropbox folder, to my notes directory, and I've now got a user.xml file with the same contents. But using the magic that is hard linking, it is actually the same file, as far as I'm aware, as what's in your snippets folder. So any change you do in either location will be reflected in the other place. So I guess it's something to do with the fact that these are actually now 2 pointers on the file system to exactly the same file on disk. So not something I've seen used in Windows before, but I think this probably could be incredibly powerful way of backing up maybe other files, so you have mirrored versions inside a Dropbox folder. I guess it's probably a little known feature because it could probably aid to confusion a lot, because once you've created this link, there's no obvious way to know that they're actually pointing to the same contents. Okay, so now I can go back into Designer, maybe create another snippet. Let's just create another test one. Save that, and then in my Dropbox folder, you should be able to see there you go, that my test item has now appeared. So whatever I now do in Designer is now going to be reflected in this file. So if I ever need to switch machines, or if I lose my Notes installation, I have to reinstall for whatever reason, I've got a permanent backup here. I wouldn't recommend this being a good way to share the files between team members, because I doubt Eclipse would be happy if there was multiple copies of this file open at the same time, or if you've got other people that are subscribed to the same Dropbox folder. It could quite easily cause conflicts. So another method that we're looking to adopt at Oval, and we haven't tried this out yet, is this idea of having shared categories. So if you're part of a development team, one person could take ownership of a particular category, for example. So for this one, Java, and what I've done is I've prefixed the category with our name, just to give it a namespace, so as an indicator that's shared. So one person in your team could own the contents of that, and then once they are updated, they can go into Customize again, select the category, and choose the export feature. So that will result in a file, a snippets.xml file, just for that category. So what we would do is say I would add in another Java item, I'd go into here, maybe change the description of the category to a new version number, right click, select export, get my new overall.java snippets XML file, share that file on my team site to let all the other developers know that it's there, and then they can go in, select the import feature and update their category to match. So that's kind of like a manual workflow to have shared code across a group of developers. That's just another idea which I've been toying with, is maybe we could see if we can get an OpenNTF namespace such as Java, where you can maybe we can get the XSnipppet site to publish the XSnippets relating to Java as a snippets XML file, so people can just download all the snippets in one go and have them available in Designer immediately, rather than having to go off to the XSnippets website. So that's something that I'll be contacting the OpenNTF team to see if we can look at doing that. But yes, so that's just a useful way of keeping common code to hand. Excellent.
And that's Martin. I really thank him for coming on. I've been wanting to do a snippet show for a while, and he did a great job. And I hope he wants to come back and give us more information. I know he's done a lot with OpenNTF, is my understanding, and I thank him for all his efforts there. And with that being said, here's my contact information, and I thank you for your time.